Like fighting games?
I didn't win the previous round.
Do you appreciate the art form known as zoning? Ever wanted to feel like Tetsuo from Akira while looking like a cute girl? Think you have the refined taste to enjoy the music of Zintata while throwing black holes at your opponent? Well, do I have the game for you? Psychic Force 2012 is a unique fighting game from the age when games had soul, and developers truly cared about their fan base and the quality of a product. Basically the 90s and early 2000s. That's what those boomers on those internet forums tell me anyways. Psychic Force 2012 was made by Taito, the same company that made Space Invaders, Arkanoid, Elevator Action, and even Bubble Bobble. You know, when I was a kid, I thought Bubble Bobble was a Godzilla prequel, so when I sat through the Matthew Broderick Godzilla, my main complaints consisted of, why isn't he shooting bubbles and where's the fruit? And while we're at it, do you know Taito was founded by a Ukrainian fella? Yeah, I know, look, here's his statue. His name was Michael Kogan. And man, did his family owe a lot of yen for overseas inheritance tax. I don't even know what that means, but I'm glad I'm not that guy. Oh wait, he's dead. What was this video about again?
What the fuck is going on here?
The story of Psychic Force 2012 is centered around an organization called Neo-Noah, run by an English weeaboo named Keith. Keith and his organization want to rule the world and create a utopia ruled by other weeaboos with psychic abilities called Psychers. Creative name, I know. But some Psychers rebel against Neo-Noah and plan to overthrow and demolish Neo-Noah to ensure that the world is never taken over by a dude named Keith. Not to mention our protagonist, Burn, is looking for his bro who he lost at an anime convention because he cosplayed Killua from Hunter x Hunter and never returned home. That plot summary is most likely completely wrong, but can you really blame me? The Psychic Force Wikipedia is incomplete and has been for years, and I feel like the modern fighting game fan is pretty similar to the average Kingdom Hearts fan. You see, we both have no idea what the fuck is going on anymore. Look, it's a fighting game from the 90s. It's dumb, it looks cool, and it came with an official OVA you can watch and use for deep Twitter lo-fi screen caps. Go watch it.
Trust me, when you fire this game up, your little fucking nuts are gonna start quaking, buddy.
The gameplay of Psychic Force 2012 is a combination of hardcore zoning and brutal up-close combat. The only other game I can compare it to, when it comes to gameplay at least, is that Pokken Tournament game that both you and I didn't care for or play. Each fighter has a light and strong attack, both in zoning and in close combat. And if you look closely, you can see you have a health bar, but it's being shared by a psi bar. This psi bar is kind of like a tension gauge from Guilty Gear or your ki meter from Dragon Ball Z Fighters, especially in the unique way that you can sacrifice some of this health for more meter. You see, any kind of special move will deplete your psi meter. However, to get that psi back, you must do a psi charge. But you can do a hyper psi charge that depletes your life gauge but gives you more of a limit on your meter, so you can become a glass cannon while tossing all the special moves you want since your limit has now been surpassed. But remember, this means that you'll become squishy and weak, like guys on Twitter that love to complain about games they've never even played. I'm sure you've already noticed, but each fighter in Psychic Force flies in a 3D cube-like area. This area has walls on each side, so movement can get pretty crazy at times and kind of hectic. You have three types of dashes: a normal dash, which is not cancelable and you're pretty vulnerable until the recovery animation ends. You have a quick dash, which is extremely fast, cancelable, and can deflect any light projectiles that come your way, kind of like the super dash in Dragon Ball Z Fighters. And you have a slide dash. This dash is pretty much like a sidestep, think Tekken or Dead or Alive. But still, one of the most important things you can learn in Psychic Force is how to guard and how to guard properly. There are three types of guards. There's a normal guard, which can block attacks coming from your front, but is highly vulnerable to pushback and wall bounce. There's barrier guard, which can block attacks from any direction, protect you from wall bounce, and keep you in a pretty good place defensively speaking. Don't forget, it can also serve as a push block. The only way you can beat this guard is if you do a maneuver called a barrier break. Barrier breaks are a move that every character has that can break, well, barriers and leave your opponent a hard knockdown. Lastly, there's retreat barrier. Spend about 50% of your psi gauge and do a quick flip into barrier guard after you're knocked back. If successful, the barrier will flash yellow, and it's pretty good for situations where you're getting wall bounced by a high damaging combo. Trust me, this move will save your life, multiple times. Oh yeah, and there's Psi Impulse. You see, it's a burst move you can do after getting knocked down, and it costs about 25 Psi. It also does a little bit of damage, but be warned, these can be punished on whiff, so you have to make sure your opponent is real close before you do it. These are only the basic techniques and mechanics of offense and defense in this game. But the thing is, this game feels great to play casually or competitively. It has a really nice flow to it, like a high-paced, high-action rock-paper-scissors kind of system. Baiting out grabs or full-screen punishing a really badly thrown fireball always feels rewarding. And yes, like I said before, there are more advanced techniques. I haven't even started on character strings, character weights, and the kind of character archetypes that can go into each matchup and make everything super interesting. I mean, speaking of characters, why don't we just transition into...
There's some cool bitches at this motherfucker, and check this out. They all got low self-esteem.
The roster for Psychic Force 2012 is decently diverse in playstyle. You see, every character is technically a zoner, but every character is also a different playstyle of zoner. That may sound a little confusing, but I'm going to go through some of my favorite characters to play against and play as, and hopefully you guys get a gist of what I'm trying to say. Burn is the blonde, hot-blooded rushdown character of this game. He's got some of the most damaging and reliable combos in the game thanks to his God Phoenix move. He relies heavily on his bullying rushdown playstyle, and is borderline useless in the long range. But Burn is a solid pick for newcomers trying to learn the basic mechanics of Psychic Force. But always remember that Burn is not his real name. His real name is Bernie. You want to tell your opponent this mid-match, trust me. No one wants to lose to a kid named fucking Bernie. Genshin is a Japanese boomer who throws NVIDIA graphics cards at his opponents to ensure that they don't get too close to him or his Shrine Maiden body pillows. He's actually considered one of the strongest characters in the roster due to his soul mines and their power to be used offensively or defensively extremely well. But being an old man, a majority of his attacks have a slow startup time, and he is not beginner friendly at all. If you want to play Genshin correctly, you're gonna have to do some homework. Gudeth is the grappler of this game, and is my favorite character in the roster. He's extremely satisfying to play, and while his moves are risky and slow, all of them have a high payoff. Not to mention he has the most damaging bread and butter combos in the game. He's a master of gravity and as based as humanly possible. Look, that's him, seconds after taking your mother to Red Lobster for a romantic night that she'll never tell you about. Play Gudeth. Trust me.
What more do you want from me?
There are way more characters and mechanics to talk about, but I left them out because I want to give credit where credit is due. It's only right to thank and shout out the man responsible for spearheading the East Coast Psychic Force scene, and that's Stalker.
This is the best designed game to not have rollback, strangely enough.
He is much more than a Brad Pitt lookalike. This man is responsible for a majority of the frame data, lore, and mechanical knowledge for this game. If any part of this video piqued your interest in this game, then join our Discord and watch Stalker's monthly Psychic Force Academy, where him and some friends run casual matches and break down individual characters and tech. It's where I got most of my footage for this video. You might even see yours truly pop in for a stream or two. Psychic Force is extremely easy to set up. In fact, Stalker and friends already have an episode showing me, step by step, on how to get Psychic Force up and running. Literally took me 10 minutes, and before I knew it, I was getting my ass handed to me live on Twitch. And if for some reason setting up Psychic Force seems too complex or intimidating for you, then don't worry. It's coming to Fightcade real soon with rollback netcode. There's never been a better time than right now to join this community. Trust me. If you want to break from the current rotation of fighting games on the market, if you want to play a simple to get into but hard to master fast-paced fighter, or if you just want to meet some cool-ass dudes while throwing black holes and honoring the legacy of an old Ukrainian dude, try Psychic Force. And remember, it's the thought that kills. I've got no idea what that means.